Hey, I'm someone who forever misses MySpace and Tumblr, so I decided to start making my own top 8 of my favorite reality TV shows and music of the week. Let's get into it. So, in the number one spot, I just have to give it to Poppy. Her track Nothing from her album Negative Spaces has been on loop in my head, even when it's not in my earbuds. I love the synth pop metal gorgeous dream of an album. The vocals are incredible, the screams are stellar, and I'm just so happy that our Knock Loose collabs were not the last that we've seen of this new age of metal Poppy. I'm here for it. My number two spot's got to go to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 14 premiere. Woo! That was a chef's kiss of a premiere. Very reminiscent of how I felt of the Salt Lake City premiere. I just have 9 words for you: Jennifer Tilly's home decor, Dorit's car cigarette, and Bose's everything. Like, I have to give it up for the real single ladies of Beverly Hills. This season is going to be a blast, and I just can't wait for it. My number three spot goes to Squint's song Pack Rat from their debut album Big Hand that came out on October 25th. I also have had this on constant loop, and I was reading about what inspired this album from a website called No Echo. It's inspired by things like Dinosaur Jr., Everclear, Lit, Third Eye Blind, and you can actually hear it all in this one track. It's really amazing. Definitely recommend the whole album, but if you want somewhere to start, check out Pack Rat by Squint. Next up is another round of applause of an episode from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City with Mary's Tiffany Luncheon. It gave everything that it needed to give. Phones were snatched, bangs were disheveled, Brittany's "What about me?" And I officially apologize. That's like the only way I'm handling conflict moving forward. She is like a soap opera dream. I loved this episode as just as I've loved this entire season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I can't get enough of it, and I can't wait for more. My number five spot goes to Pink Shift's One Nation. I'll just say a few weeks ago, I actually made a top 8 of my most favorite revolutionary songs in the emo and alternative scene, and I wish I discovered this one in time. It's really just about this generation, what we're noticing and seeing with the billionaire class taking over, how our roots are literally rotting within, and things that just need to be fixed. Pink Shift was started in 2018, but they're a little bit newer to me. Highly recommend their music. They're very modern pop punk, and I truly love them. My number six spot goes to House of Villains' latest episode. It's number six, but it's always number one in my heart. House of Villains makes my list every week. The show is just iconic. It's a recipe for success. It's got Tiffany Pollard. It's got Big Brother contestants, survivors, challengers, housewives. It is wonderful television. I laugh. I gasp from the shade that's being thrown. It is top tier. If you're not watching it, highly recommend. It's super easy to catch up on. There's only 8 episodes in the season so far. I actually think season two is better than season one, probably because Tiffany Pollard's in it longer, but highly iconic show. My number seven spot goes to the new single called Watch the Fire by Dashboard Confessional and Boys Like Girls. I am personally a sucker for modern day music that gives me all the nostalgic feels, and this is it. I'm also a sucker for perfect collabs. I kind of sort of want an entire album from these two. Please make it in the cards, please. And I was reading Chris Caraba's post about this. He actually said, you can't really read it below here, but reckoning with your past can be painful and ugly. It can also be rejuvenating and beautiful. I don't know whether you get to decide. I just know it's worth it. That's what this song's about, and I would highly recommend his write up on his Instagram about this to know more while you listen to it. It kind of gave this song a whole other meaning for me. In the number 8 spot, last but certainly not least, is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's after show for their latest episode. It was a recapping the episode, and if there's any Drag Race fans in here, I really do feel like if you're not watching these after shows, you're only getting half the story. A lot of shade was actually thrown at Brittany in this episode. Just her hypocrisy, her being mad at Angie for bringing wine to her Mormon prayer party or whatever that was, but also like consistently drinking in front of the ladies and on camera. Additional shade was thrown at Brittany. Heather calls her cringy in the after show. They talk about how she's definitely, allegedly, possibly 100% banging multiple dudes, but also touting the whole like Mormon lifestyle. And being a bit upset again at Angie for bringing wine to that prayer party when she's very explicitly, even in the after show, talking about being with a lot of men. Um, they also talk about and unpack Todd's reaction to the Palm Springs trip. They talk about the rupture that exists a bit deeper between Mary and Meredith. They go a little more in depth than I was aware of. So, highly recommend the after shows. It gives you a lot more than what we're seeing in the episodes themselves. And that wraps up my top 8 of the week. Stay tuned for more next week.